Hello, friends. In this video, we'll take a look at a few of the reasons as to why the doctrine of the Sunday law is not only unbiblical, but that such a doctrine would be impossible to enforce and, at its core, is self-contradictory. Many people never take the time to ask the question of whether or not the doctrine of the Sunday law is even found in the Bible. It is not, and we'll look into this matter a little more thoroughly in future videos. But for the time being, please understand that there is absolutely nothing in the Bible about the first day of the week ever being forced upon anyone at any time, let alone as some end-time final test for all humanity. If you don't have the Bible clearly teaching something along these lines, then you don't have a biblical case for the Sunday law. And in fact, the modern notion of the Sunday law comes from the pen of Ellen G. White. Please consider that no one else in all of Christendom sees this doctrine in the Bible. If it was actually spoken of somewhere, then certainly other Christians would be aware of it. Something so important that it involves the very salvation of one's soul at the end of time would never be passed by without so much as even a single mention. God would never leave his children in the dark about such an important matter, yet Seventh-day Adventists maintain that such a doctrine is actually there. That is, if you look hard enough for it. They apparently uncovered this hidden message not long after their formation in the mid-1800s. Recall that hidden knowledge is what the Gnostics taught and promoted. Yet we know that God's truth is not hidden from his people. Secondly, have you ever asked yourself how exactly would a national or universal Sunday law ever be enforced? The notion of a Sunday law is concerned with what can or can't be done on Sundays and Sundays alone. It is not concerned about any other day of the week, including what is done on Saturdays. So how does a Sunday law suddenly transform itself into some sort of Saturday law, where people are supposedly going to be executed for merely worshiping God on the seventh-day Sabbath? If you think about it for a moment, this type of law could never be enforced. We all know that there are not enough policemen and military personnel in the United States to go into every single home or cabin or tent in the middle of nowhere to make sure that no one is working on Sundays, and then somehow insist and force all citizens, illegals, visitors, and even atheists to actually engage and participate in worshiping God on Sundays. This matter gets even more absurd when we consider the multitude of the various belief systems that exist on the planet. From the fervently religious to the complete agnostic or atheist, people have their unique convictions. And we all know it is impossible to make another person worship, especially someone who doesn't even believe in God. Also, is one to seriously think that the world's almost 2 billion Muslims would ever agree to switch from worshiping on their holy day of Friday and somehow switch it to Sundays, all because the Pope and the evil apostate Protestants supposedly desire such a thing? I think not. Author Dirk Anderson asks, is one to believe that the United States is strong enough to not only force its own people to worship on Sunday, but also force the entire world to do likewise? The entire world witnessed the great difficulty the United States had in trying to control the tiny nation of Afghanistan from 2001 to 2021. After futilely attempting to maintain control over that nation, the United States left in defeat. If the United States cannot even maintain order in this one small nation, then how is it going to control the entire world? Lastly, the Sunday law enforcement personnel themselves would actually be breaking the very law they are trying to enforce upon others by engaging in work themselves on that very day that people are supposedly demanded to rest on. Thus, any enforcement of the Sunday law would actually be self-defeating. Again, having personnel work on Sunday to make sure others don't work on Sunday would be a complete contradiction to the law itself. This whole premise is simply illogical, and yet many, if not most Seventh-day Adventists never seem to question, review, or even ask how this doctrine would ever be implemented, administered, or enforced. After preaching the soon-coming Sunday law doctrine for over 175 years, it is time for the Seventh-day Adventist Church to have an open and honest conversation about this spurious and very divisive belief. They need to have a serious internal conversation about this doctrine, just like they've had about their other unique beliefs. Indeed, there are a handful of Seventh-day Adventists that have attempted to bring this doctrine to the forefront, but they are generally met with fierce resistance or downright dismissal. Some have even accused these Adventists as attempting to bring down the foundations of the church. This overreaction is unwarranted. Remember the old adage, The truth doesn't mind being questioned, but a lie doesn't like being challenged in any way. Please leave your thoughts on this topic in the comments section below.